So, have you ever wondered if your words can actually, shape your reality? It sounds a little out there, almost like science fiction, right? But what if there's a real-world process behind it all? Today, we're going to dig into an incredible case study that shows the answer isn't just a simple yes or no. It's actually a system.
This quote, this right here is the absolute heart of our story. It gets at this idea that consistent, focused intention isn't just passive wishing. It's an active force, something that can actually influence the world around you. We're going to break down how this can be a real, tangible process, not just some kind of magical thinking.
It's a totally fair question, and honestly, it's easy to be skeptical. I get it. To really understand the mechanics behind this so-called magic, we need to follow the journey of a man named Jordan. We're going to see how a simple daily ritual can trigger a whole cascade of events.
All right, so our story begins right here. For Jordan, everything started in front of this cracked, foggy mirror. It was just a daily routine that would become the absolute foundation for everything that came next.
In the beginning, this was really just an act of defiance against despair. He was saying words he didn't really believe to a reflection he barely even recognized. But as he kept at it day after day after day, something fundamental really started to shift. So this daily ritual, this practice, it led to the most critical change of all. And it wasn't in his bank account. It wasn't in his career. It was inside his own mind. This is where the real transformation began to take root.
This visualizes a really crucial mental shift. His affirmations went from being these desperate pleas, these wishes, to becoming rehearsals. He wasn't just wishing for a future anymore. He was practicing for a future he was starting to believe was already on its way.
He repeated these words so consistently that the doubt in his own voice, that little tremor of uncertainty, it just started to fade. The words stopped being a wish, and they became a plan. He wasn't asking for a future anymore. He was announcing it.
And here's the thing about a belief that's strong. It can't stay locked in a bathroom. It demands proof. It demands action. Jordan's internal conviction started pushing him, compelling him to go out into the world.
So this was never just about feeling good. It was about doing something. Fueled by his morning ritual, he began actively looking for environments where opportunity could even exist. He started going to startup events, just immersing himself in that world, because once you prime your brain for what you're looking for, you start to see it everywhere.
And it was at one of these events that a total stranger who was impressed by his ideas made a really simple suggestion. Apply to a competitive startup incubator. Now, this was a path Jordan had completely dismissed. He thought it was impossible for someone like him.
And of course, faced with that intimidating application, all the old self-doubt came rushing back. But this time, he had a tool. He went back to his mirror and he spoke his core affirmation, not as a wish, but as a reminder of his plan. This was the exact opportunity he'd been rehearsing for.
So he hit submit at 2:47 in the morning, and with that one single click, he entered what is so often the most difficult part of any journey, the waiting. This is where real belief is forged. The response from the incubator was just complete, deafening silence. The initial adrenaline rush he got from taking action, it faded pretty quickly, and it was replaced by that slow, gnawing uncertainty.
And while he was waiting for a response that might never even come, the real world, well, it didn't pause. His savings were almost gone, the external pressure was just immense, and it made his affirmations feel less like a shield and more like a really heavy weight. The silence practically became a character in his story. After 8 weeks with no word, the hope he had worked so hard to build started to feel less like a strength and more like an exhausting burden, especially when compared to the reality of his situation. This is where Jordan's practice was truly put to the test. He kept going to the mirror, saying the words even when they felt like a complete lie. And what he showed was that true belief isn't just a passive feeling. It's a conscious, deliberate decision to keep going, to rewire your own mindset even when all the evidence says you should quit.
Then, on just a random gray morning when it really felt like that flame was about to flicker out for good, the silence was finally broken.
It wasn't a loud roar or a clap of thunder. It was the quietest of sounds. Just a single small email notification chime from his laptop. But in that tiny little sound was everything.
The subject line said it all. It was the incubator. And they weren't just interested, they were impressed. They wanted to meet him, they wanted to hear his pitch. The opportunity he had been rehearsing for had finally arrived.
In that moment, he turned back to the mirror, But the face staring back at him was different. It wasn't the man who was just hoping for a future anymore. It was the man who had worked, who had persisted, and who had spoken that future into existence. He had finally earned his own belief.
So Jordan's story shows us that this isn't about some magic words. It's a case study in the real mechanics of turning belief into reality, a psychological process with clear, repeatable steps.
The key insight here is that speaking his future into the mirror, that was the catalyst, not the conclusion. That verbal act built a belief, which then created a plan, and that plan drove him to take action. That action put him in the path of opportunity, and his sheer persistence carried him through the crushing silence all the way to the final breakthrough.
This whole thing leaves us with a really powerful question. Jordan's story suggests this process of internal change leading to external results is real. So, if your future is out there listening, what are you going to tell it?